Hey there! Today we're going to continue our unit on ecology. And as if you will remember, ecology is that interdependence between different organisms with one another and the interdependence between them and their environment. Okay, so today we're going to talk about some different types of relationships called symbiotic relationships. And after today's lesson, you should be able to tell me what symbiosis is. You should be able to talk about the different kinds of symbiosis and give me examples of each kind. Okay, so we're going to start out today's lesson by watching a preview on YouTube. So let's click this and watch it really quickly.
Report to Bremen Academy pickup, please. Kaylee Taylor, report to Bremen Academy pickup.
So we're in the ocean of Southeast Asia, getting ready to search for a fish that lives in a place so dangerous that most other fish won't even come near it. Ready? Let's go diving. And after a bit of searching, I finally found it. The clownfish, or anemone fish as it's also called. The beautiful tentacles of the anemone are actually deadly to most fish. The tentacles have stinging organs called nematocysts, which fire tiny darts into fish that brush by. This stinging ability protects anemones from predators and helps them capture prey for food. But how can clownfish hide in such a dangerous place? Well, that's because clownfish have a symbiotic relationship with anemones that is so important that clownfish are almost always found among anemones. Symbiotic relationships are interactions between two species that can benefit either one or both species. Symbiotic relationships are divided up into three major categories. Parasitism benefits one species while the other is harmed. Like ticks, for example. There are many examples here in the ocean. Take parasitic fish lice, for example, that cling to a host fish and feed on its body fluids. Amazingly, fish will sometimes find a cleaner fish or a cleaner shrimp to help remove the parasites from their scales, mouth, and gills. When this happens, a mutualistic relationship is formed between the fish and the cleaner organism. Mutualism is a symbiotic relationship in which both species benefit from the relationship. This bird here eats the tick, which benefits the cow. In our fish example, the host fish is clean off its parasites, and the cleaner fish gets a free meal. Both species benefit, but not the sea lice anymore. Hey, I already brushed my teeth today. The third symbiotic relationship is commensalism. Commensalism benefits one organism, but the other one is neither harmed nor helped. You might have had a bug hitchhiking on you at some point without knowing it. An example here in the ocean is when remoras hitch a ride on sharks, big rays, or turtles. The remora attaches itself with a disc on its head and then hitch a ride and feed off the food scraps the host animal leave behind. The sharks are not affected by the remoras being there, but the remoras get a free ride and a free meal. Sounds good to me. So back to our clownfish. Clownfish are protected from predators by living among anemones, and in exchange the clownfish chase away fish and other animals that can harm the anemone. What kind of symbiotic relationship is this? That's right, mutualistic. Okay, but we still have one important question to answer. How can the clownfish be immune to the anemone sting? Well, a clownfish must first get used to its host anemone by developing a protective mucus coating. Kind of like when we use sunscreen. And there are two possible explanations for how this happens. The first explanation is that the clownfish secretes its own mucus, which lacks the substance that makes the anemone fire the stinging nematocyst. It's as if the clownfish had a protective force field or invisible cape. And the second explanation is that the clownfish uses mucus produced by the anemone. The unprotected clownfish initially touches the anemone with its fins, even getting stung slightly at first, but over time gains the protective mucus coating. Symbiotic relationships happen everywhere, even in our own bodies. Did you know that every time you eat yogurt, you're actually filling up your digestive tract with symbiotic bacteria? That's right, you become the host of these natural bacteria, and they help you process and digest the food that you eat every day. Alright, so next time you go outside, stop, look around, and see how many symbiotic relationships you can spot around you and report what they are. And remember, never stop exploring your world.
Okay, so there is our preview of what we're going to be learning today. So you kind of have an idea of what symbiosis is right now. If you'll take your notes out from the handout, we're going to go ahead and fill these notes out. Feel free to stop this video at any time if you need more time to fill those notes out. Okay, so what is symbiosis? Okay, the literal definition of symbiosis is the act of living together. Okay, the act of living together. And what that means is you're going to have the two organisms that are living together, and at least it could be temporarily or it could be for a long period of time. And at least one of those organisms is going to benefit from that relationship. Okay, so let's look at the different kinds of symbiosis. They talked about it in the video. The first type is mutualism. And mutualism is where both of these organisms are going to benefit. Then you have parasitism. And parasitism is where, again, one organism benefits, but the other organism is harmed. Okay? And the third kind is commensalism. And commensalism, as in all of these, one of these organisms, at least one of these organisms is going to benefit. But in commensalism, the other organism is unaffected. Okay, so feel free, again, to stop this, pause this video, and make sure that you get these notes down. So here are some examples of symbiosis. The example one would be an acacia plant with ant galls. So you can see these ant galls right here. So what happens is the ants they go and lay their eggs, they kind of drill a hole and they lay their eggs in the branch of this acacia tree. And because they are damaging the tree is going to react to this infection by growing a gall or this brown flesh around the eggs of the ants. So it's going to give the ant eggs protection, and it also will provide a source of food when the ant eggs start to hatch. Now, the reason they choose the acacia tree is you see these thorns right here. So these thorns kind of prevent a lot of the predatory animals that are herbivores. It kind of prevents them from coming and feeding on this tree, or especially where the thorns are at. So that's why it chooses this tree in particular, is because of these thorns. So if you were to try to figure out what kind of symbiotic relationship this is, who do you think is benefiting here? Okay, the ants are benefiting, but the tree is actually harmed because it is reacting to what it considers an infection. So this would be an example of parasitism. The next example would be a moray eel with cleaner fish. So you can see the little fish right here in the bigger fish's mouth. Now this moray eel does not eat the cleaner fish, but it is getting something out of this relationship. It's getting a clean mouth, and the cleaner fish gets a meal. So both of these organisms are benefiting from this relationship. So this is an example of mutualism. All right, the third example here is cattle with these cattle egrets. So cattle egrets are these birds that kind of follow these cattle around in the savannah. And as the cattle walk through this grass, they're going to stir up insects. And as the insects get disturbed and they fly up from wherever they're at, the egrets hanging around there are going to eat the insects. So they get a free meal. The cattle, unfortunately, don't really get anything out of this relationship, but they're not harmed either. So this is an example of commensalism, where one organism benefits and one is unaffected. All right, the fourth example is the clownfish with the sea anemone, and just like was in the video that you just watched, that clownfish is getting protection from the sea anemone. As we've learned in classification, sea anemones have these stinging cells, and if a fish gets too close to this organism, it will get stung and give the sea anemone food. So the clownfish, though, has developed an immunity to the stings of the sea anemone. So they're both getting something out of this relationship. The anemone is receiving food that's attracted by the clownfish. So those fish wanting to eat the clownfish will get too close. This sea anemone stings them and has food. The clownfish gets protection. So all those fish that want to eat it, it's not going to be able to get to it if the clownfish stays with the anemone. So this is an example, a classic example of mutualism where both of these organisms benefit. All right, the fifth example here we've got is an antelope with an oxbird. So this antelope is able to get rid of parasites that are in its ear or on its skin or whatever, and the oxbird is getting a meal. So what kind of relationship do you think this is? You can figure it out by figuring out who is benefiting. Okay, and if they're both benefiting from the relationship, it is mutualism. All right, the final example is kind of gross, but actually it's something you need to think about. So this is a taenia worm, and obviously a human eye. This worm infects the human bloodstream, and because of the worm gets into the eye and does damage, humans actually can go blind from this. My son went to school, so I have a personal story to tell on this one. My son went to school with a kid who was legally blind. They were buddies. And the kid, when he was a toddler, he would run around like we all did outside barefooted. Well, he had a cut on his foot, and he was running around barefooted outside, and he got this parasite in his foot that traveled from his bloodstream up to his eye, and by the time his parents realized what was going on, it was already too late. That the worm had done damage, and he is legally blind in I think it's just one of his eyes. But yeah, be careful if you have a cut on your foot. Don't go walking outside in the dirt, because there are parasites that will like to do you harm. Okay, so again, this is parasitism because the worm is benefiting and the person is being harmed. Okay. All right, so that's our PowerPoint show, but we've got a project that I want to do with these types of relationships, and it should be kind of fun. You're going to get to research some type of symbiotic relationship and create a wanted ad. So let's look at this. What you're going to do is you're going to create a classified advertisement or a want ad for a job opening in which an organism in a symbiotic relationship is looking for the other organism. This ad should be based on either a mutualistic, a parasitic, or a commensalistic relationship, and I will let you know after your research you'll figure out which one it is. You're going to write a catchy headline to grab attention. Then write supporting information for each of the following. You're going to describe the relationship that you're seeking. Is it mutualistic? Is it parasitic? Is it commensalistic? Then you're going to describe who you are and the qualities that you possess. You're going to describe the type of organism that you need for the job and why you need this service. And then you'll describe what you will give the organism in return for his or her services. You want to add some pictures. Okay, so for your ad, include the following pictures. If you can't find them for printing, you can draw them as well. And you know Ms. Rower loves hand-drawn stuff. Just hint, okay? A picture of you, whatever you are. You may be, I don't know what you're going to be. You'll find out in just a few minutes. A picture of you, the organism in search of a relationship, a picture of the organism in which you're searching for, and a picture of you together in your symbiotic relationship. Again, any kind of pictures must be neat and colorful, and they can be hand drawn. Okay, so to create this ad, you can use any of the following materials: construction paper, copy paper, magazine and newspaper cutouts, computer graphics, photographs, hand-drawn images, anything you want, okay? And your ad can be constructed using a PowerPoint, a brochure, a newspaper ad, a magazine ad. It could be a poster, a prezi, or a video. All I ask is you be creative and have fun with it. Here's an example This lazy pup with short nails is desperately seeking a parasitic relationship. So you can kind of look at that as an idea of what I'm looking for. Okay, and here's how I'm going to grade you. Each one of these things is worth 10 points, and it's the whole project is going to be worth 100 points. So it should be a fun project that shouldn't take that long. So yeah, have fun with it. And if you have any questions, just get with me. When you come into class, I will be handing you out a number, and you'll go here and look at what whatever your number. If you're 27, it's going to be, you'll be an Egyptian plover, and you're looking for a crocodile. Okay. So, if you're number 22, you'll be a fig tree, and you're looking for an Amazon fruit bat. So you will research whatever this is and then create your ad. All right, guys, I will see you later. Have fun with this. Ask me questions if you need to. Thank you. I'll see you next time.